lovelies. Okay, let's just make sure that this is on and working. I need to see the timestamp show up. This is my new indication. There we go. There's the timestamp. Amazing. Hello, my loves. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's episode of Align and Allow. If you are new here, welcome. Align and Allow is your weekly mini training series where we talk about all things doing less, determining your aligned way of working, and how to step into receiving your next level results with allowing more abundance into your life without needing to do all the things. Let's just break it down real quick. We live in a society that glamorizes overworking, that idolizes busyness, and that makes us constantly feel like we need to do more in order to prove our worth or feel really good about the results that we're creating. Everything is really external and everything is really focused in this masculine energy way of working. We're going to talk a lot about that today, which is why I'm going to just sprinkle it in here right now. But basically what we do in these weekly Align and Allow episodes is we talk about practical tips, mindset shifts, and techniques that you can actually use and implement to allow you to be in alignment in all areas of your life. So we're really starting with the foundation of work, because work is just like the baseline of life. Like, just think about what you were thinking about doing when you were in high school or at university. It was always like, what's the next thing that I'm going to achieve? How's the next way that I'm going to show up? And it's always about what you are here to create. What is your purpose? What kind of jobs are you working? How is it fulfilling you in your life? And work takes up more than a third of our lives, okay? So it's really, really crucial that that's the place that we start when it comes to balance, when it comes to being in alignment, because that's how you're spending most of your time. Like, if you're going to start doing balance from a place of like, oh, how I spend my Sunday afternoons, is that in alignment with me? Yeah, most likely that's going to be in alignment with you if you get to control how you spend your time on Sundays. But then if for the rest of the week you're working jobs that you don't enjoy, or you're constantly running around and you're constantly feeling busy, then like we want to be looking at those places too. Like, it's easier to create change in areas where we have, you know, the space and opportunity for it. Not that that's not a place to start. For sure, go ahead and make your Sunday your sanctuary. I'm so here for it. But we want to make sure that we're really giving intentional attention to all these other areas of your life as well. Okay, so that's the little spiel. I need to do the little spiel so that anyone who's new here can easily hop on and jump in. You can go back and watch all of the other Align and Allow episodes. I got a couple messages about that this week, like, are they always in the Facebook group? All the recordings are here in the Facebook group under the tag Align and Allow, literally and the word, not the ampersand. The ampersand, I think that's what it's called. Words are not here today, that's okay. And you can search that in the Facebook group, or you can always shoot me a message. Most of them are also still in the announcements, so if you just go to the announcements, you can go and check out all the ones from the last couple of weeks, and binge the episodes. Make this like a little fun self-development binge. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the topic for today's episode 7. And what we're going to be diving into is why the strategy of intuitive flow is your key to success. It's not just an important part. It's not just, you know, something that we can think about incorporating. It is literally the key. It is the thing that is going to shift the entire way in which you are working. So coming back to what we talked about before, how you're working is the foundation of creating balance, is the foundation of creating alignment, is the way in which that you can actually step into achieving your next level goal. If we're not focusing on the foundation, on the structure, then we're basically trying to like build this beautiful big mansion or empire without having the foundation in place. We're like, let's just put these posts in here. And it's like, okay, but why? Or like, what is that actually going to do? Or how is this thing holding up the other thing? Or what's the big picture vision of like what this mansion is going to look like, right? So we really want to have that core foundation and plan of how we're flowing through the project, which is going to be a direct factor influencing how quickly and effortlessly and easily you are able to achieve that next level goal. So whether that's running your business or starting your business or selling out your offer or writing a novel or becoming a published author, or simply just like having time to sleep better or work out or run a marathon or pick your kids up from school and not constantly be working past dinner time. Whatever your next level goal is, we need to make sure the foundation for how you're working is set up first, because that's going to make all the difference. Okay, so already I'm off on the tangent. I like to keep these short and sweet. They're usually around 15 to 20 minutes, and I've been pretty good at keeping them there. But as you can tell, I like to talk. So there's some tangents, and if you're here leaving comments, we're going to go in and explore them. So That reminds me, if you are hopping on live, comment in the comment section. Let me know that you're here. Tell me where you're hopping on from, where in the world you are. We have so many different nationalities in this beautiful community, so it's fun to be able to connect that way. Let me know what's one thing that you are grateful for today, something that is going really well in your life right now, something that you can show gratitude for, and we can celebrate that together. And if you have any questions, any comments, drop in as we go along, and I will make sure to keep checking back in. So the way that this works, every episode we have three main factors that go into, or three main points that apply to the main theme that we're talking about. So what we're talking about today is why the strategy of intuitive flow is your key to success, and here are the three main points summarized for you. First of all, we're going to talk about the yucky-ness around the concept of intuitive, and when it comes to work, specifically the yucky-ness that comes up, and why it's been shamed and shunned for many, many, many years, and the crucial shift that actually happens in your life when you reclaim it, okay? Then we're going to talk about point number 2, my tried and trusted strategies that I use for myself, that I use with my clients, that actually help us do less and in turn create bigger results without needing to do all the forcing and feeling all the pressure, okay? Because that is not how we want to be working. That creates stress. That's what makes us sick. That's what makes us feel burnt out, actually get to the point of like not being able to physically or mentally show up anymore, and that is not good for your next level goal at all, right? And then point number 3, 2 ways to set up your foundation for your way of working to actually allow yourself to step into that next level goal. So again, regardless of what your next level goal is, starting your business, up leveling into that next level job, getting the promotion, getting fully booked with clients, etc., having these 2 first next steps in place for you for setting up your foundation is going to make getting there so much easier, like we just talked about before. All right, so let's dive into point number 1, the yucky-ness around the concept of intuition and intuitive flow, and why that this is not something that is talked about more often, why this is like this weird secret thing that, you know, we don't really address or is really shunned and pushed away, and there's a lot of shame around it. So intuition and intuitive, this whole concept of it has really been framed as bad when it comes to work, when it comes to the business environment, when it comes to this public sphere of life where we are really showing up externally and we are showing up specifically in our masculine energy. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But intuition has really been framed within that environment specifically. We're going to get really specific with that as witchy or woo-woo, or not really having a place in business, right? When we think about work or business, like it's not very much like this question of how did that feel, and like let's tune in and let's see what your intuition is asking you to do here. And maybe there are places where you've heard that in certain frameworks, but it's not generally the overarching idea of how we run a business or the way in which we run a quote unquote successful business, right? So what we have created in our society is a world in which business and work really exists in this public and masculine sphere. So when I say masculine, it doesn't mean, you know, actually gender-based men, but it means the energy that comes along with that space. And when we think about the masculine and feminine energies, I've talked about this a lot over the last couple other Align and Allow episodes up until this point, but I'm just going to break it down again in case this is the first time that you're hearing about it. But the masculine energy side of the scale, it all exists on the scale, and we have on the one side really, really strong masculine energy, and on the other side we have really, really strong feminine energy, okay? And when we think about all the different areas of our lives, they can all fall on different parts of the scale. Your relationship might fall on a certain point of that scale, but that's really unique to you in your life, right? When we talk about work in the greater scheme of things, and we talk about it in as it relates to our society, work really falls into the masculine side of the sphere because it is where and how we are taught to work, and what we are taught as a society, as a collective, what it means to be productive, what it means to be successful, what it means to be valued or create worthwhile creations, right? And so when we think about this side of the scale and the masculine energy of work, just think about what you've been taught about work. Maybe you've been taught that output is super important and that the more you can do, the better, you know, it is, the more valuable you are. Or maybe you've been taught that your productivity equals your worth, just maybe not in those words specifically, but okay, the more I do, the more productive I am, and therefore the more worthy I am. We can think about that in the sphere as well, or in the case of needing to be busy all the time. Like, we have now created a society where we all feel like we need to be doing a lot all the time in order to feel like we've been productive. Why do we feel like we need to feel productive? Well, because it makes us feel good. It validates us and it validates our worth, right? Does that make sense? Let me know if you're following along, and if that resonates with you too, if you can pick out areas of your life where that's true for you as well, right? And so when it comes to work, we are just very much in this masculine side of the scale. It is also known for strict structure. We want that clear plan mapped out. We're very much focused on checking things off the to-do list. We're way more focused on the accomplishments and actually like being done, like the destination, rather than the process of getting to that destination. And we're valuing the outcome and the output. Okay, let me know if that makes sense. So when we exist so strongly in the masculine sphere, we also need to ask ourselves, why is the feminine being pushed out, right? The feminine has really been repressed specifically in the sphere because, first and foremost, the public sphere and the working sphere has been male dominated, right? That's the patriarchy coming into the conversation here. Who has created these structures? Who has been in charge of these structures? Who has been running these structures? What is the power dynamic in these structures? Who is it benefiting? We can go and dive into all those questions on a much longer training if we want to. But what it comes down to is the fact that the feminine has really been pushed out, and anything related to the feminine, and we can talk about what's on that side of the sphere of the scale, is very much focused on creativity and being in flow. We're focused on the process, on the journey rather than the destination. We're focused on really enjoying being in it. We're focusing on tuning in with our body. What are our bodies asking us for right now? What feels best? How can I use my emotionality and my sensitivity as power? There's so much power that lies in that, and in our empathy. How can we connect with people and focus on valuing those connections rather than just executing in order to get to the next phase? So let me know if that makes sense. But that's really been something largely on that scale that has been pushed out of business. We want that quick, that fast, that, productive, that executing to get to that next level. Like, that's what we're valuing, okay? So again, let me know if that makes sense, because that's just kind of like the overarching view of what's happening. So again, what happens when we value masculine energy so strongly is we are then seeing the feminine qualities as not as valuable, right? So if you think even back to your experience in the work environment, or potentially even back when you were at school, or what people have said to you throughout your life, or how you even now show up in relationships, for example, where showing emotions might feel weak, vulnerability might feel weak, being sensitive in a work environment, caring about how someone else is doing, or bringing up the other side of the equation of saying, hey, that doesn't feel right. That feels really forceful. That feels like it's really pushing. Those things are not as seen as valuable, okay? So what we really want to do is reclaim the intuitive side of how we are working. This is reclaiming the femininity, and bringing balance back into how we are working means balancing out ourselves personally, and this is very unique to you, on your place in the scale of masculine, feminine, that creates balance for you, okay? And when we don't have the connection to this guidance, and this is again coming back to the patriarchy, why we're so heavily focused on this masculine energy and its way of working, is because not having this connection to the intuitive side of ourselves meant that the people in charge, that the powerful benefiting from the masculine structures, could continue to benefit from them. We are so powerful when we are tapped into that intuitive guidance, when we are constantly checking with ourselves, seeing what feels right, seeing if our bodies need a break right now or need to rest. We will have 1000% a whole episode on how much more productive we actually are when we give ourselves permission to rest, and the rhythm of rest. That's definitely coming, and we can dive in a lot more to that. But basically, what we really want to hone in on here is the power that comes from reclaiming and taking back your intuitive guidance and bringing it into the way that you're working as a woman, but also as a human being. We all have this intuitive piece of ourselves because we all exist with masculine and feminine energy, right? It's not a gender thing, like I said at the beginning. So when you do this, when you tap into the intuitive guidance, once again, you literally lock like this underground secret layer and this super powerful like river and magic that you get to literally start using in your life that's going to benefit you in how you're working, where you're going, staying in alignment with your purpose, and how you want to be working. Literally this foundational way of working, this feminine flow blueprint of how you're showing up to reach that next level. So it's not just about checking things off the list and getting to that next level goal with only the masculine structure. That's where we get burnt out. That's where we fall into chronic stress, and so on. So point number one, summarized for you in a short 15 minutes. Point number two is let's dive into some of my tried and trusted strategies that actually help me and my clients do less and in turn create bigger results without needing to use all the forcing and the pressuring, right? So again, force, pressure, feeling like we need to do more, feeling stressed, feeling like we're never doing enough. Those are all very masculine focused energies when it comes to work. Because again, we're falling into focusing too heavily on the outcome, focusing too heavily on the destination. And again, yes, we want the balance of the two, right? It's not like the destination doesn't matter. It's not like we don't want to have a plan to get us there, but we need the flow between both energies, okay? So the first thing I want to share with you is making this a really holistic approach for yourself, right? So in work, we mostly just focus on the output like we just talked about. So we can actually create much bigger results without all the stress in our lives, without running our bodies into the ground, with actually able, like allowing ourselves to get enough sleep, all those things when we take this holistic approach, right? Right now, we're not getting enough sleep. Right now, we are running our bodies into the ground. We are dealing with chronic stress and fatigue. We are racing our bodies like into the ground every single day, feeling like we need to do more. And what we really want to do is shift into a holistic approach of how we are working. This is the first step to creating this foundation. And why I say it is a tried and trusted strategy is because I have done this with all of my clients up until this point. Every single one of them has gone through this flow and strategy shift of moving into a holistic approach of how they're working, which means bringing the body back into the equation, creating your rhythm of rest in how you are working and how you are taking breaks, using rest as a strategy for success, using play as a strategy for success. These, again, are all very feminine qualities. We're moving you from this strong masculine energy back into the feminine. Using your feminine flow strategy, again, this is super unique to you. So how do all of these different pieces fit together in how you are showing up, right? So that you're not moving forward in this strict structure that is feeling super confining to you because you woke up and you're like, okay, I have to do exactly what's on my to-do list today, but you're just not feeling it. You're not able to focus. And then you start procrastinating, and then you start beating yourself up for procrastinating, and then only 2 things on your to-do list get done. And then, something else comes up in life, or your kid gets sick and you have to go pick them up from school. Like, all of these different things are standing in our way of actually reaching our next level goal with ease because we are confining ourselves to this strict structure. So we really want to shift into the strategy of making it a holistic approach and incorporating all the different pieces that go into that. Let me know if that makes sense and if you have any questions about that. When we talk about a holistic approach, what that really means is, again, having the external and the internal come together again, the masculine and the feminine balancing each other out. Forcing and pressure that we feel when we sit down to work, or the stress that you feel, or when you're laying awake in bed at night thinking about your to-do list, thinking about what's coming up tomorrow, and maybe you're like, yeah, and you're like going through it and it's like, okay, I just need to like cover it and then I'm gonna feel good. Maybe that part feels good, but there's always this like underlying like little river of like, ooh, but like it's kind of stressing me out, or like, oh, I'm irritated that I'm thinking about it, or your body's physically tensing up because you're putting yourself in this place of constant stress because of the way that you've been taught to work. And you're so not alone in that. We have all been taught to work that way, okay? So when we talk about force and pressure, it is external. When we're so focused on the external, it suppresses the inner guidance that is actually telling us what's up. It's like the inner guidance is the thermostat, and we have set the thermostat to say, this is how I want to feel in my life. This is how I want to move through my day, through my work. This is like us setting our alignment intention, okay? And then once we are constantly doing that inner guidance work, constantly checking back in, The thermostat allows us to keep ourselves in balance. It keeps our stress levels in check. It's allowing us to make sure that we're not just moving through life in our robot zone where we're just do to get the most output and to, get the biggest results. And then it's like, well, what did that actually give us in our lives, right? And that's what we're coming back to here. So that is point number 2. Let's dive into point number 3 so we can wrap this up in the next couple minutes. Point number 3 are the 2 ways to set up your foundation for your way of working to actually allow yourself to step into that next level goal right away. So I'm going to give you 2 pieces right now so that you can start tapping into that intuitive guidance, start shifting the way that you're working, and really balance out these masculine and feminine energies, okay? So the first thing that I want to give you is to make it adjustable and make it flexible. Again, when we're talking about creating a strategy of intuitive flow and of that being your key to success, if we don't allow ourselves to make adjustments, if we don't have strategies that are literally made to be adjustable, like that have the extension on them and that have the extra set of wheels, like if we're thinking about like a car or like a little like machine thing, I don't know what I'm thinking about there. I'm thinking about like a little race car, like the remote controlled one, where you could like pull up the antenna and like add a second cart to it. Like we want to make your strategy as adjustable as possible. And this doesn't mean having your one strategy and being like, oh, I can adjust it if I want to. It's literally having your strategy set up so that you can add something over here. It's already set up so that you know if you were to add something, this is what it would be. And if you're feeling like this on this day, this is how it's going to look. This is how you're going to adjust it. And if the timeline changes or if something comes up here, this is what it looks like. Like it's almost like, okay, this is what I was thinking of. The robots from Transformers, right? Like they look like a car and that's like the structure in and of itself, and then they need to adjust, and then they open themselves up and they have arms and legs, okay? I feel like that's not a reference that I should be allowed to be making, but we went there. So when we think about the adjustment, to actually have that as part of the foundation, okay? We want that to be the way in which you are setting up your strategy. And we can definitely dive in more into what that would specifically look like for you. Again, that's different for everyone. So it's not like I can just say, here's the structure, because it needs to be adjustable. And if it's being adjusted, it means it's customized and unique to you. Does that make sense? Okay. The second way to start to set up your foundation is to literally start tapping into this inner guidance on a daily basis, creating a practice around creating and cultivating this connection. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, well, I talk to myself in my head all the time. It's like, yes, I know you do because we all do, but that oftentimes is part of the stress or overwhelm that we're feeling, and we're like not actually having that open communication with the feminine intuitive side of ourselves, but it's the masculine side of overthinking or stressing, or again, the external stress coming in to our minds. Does that make sense? That difference? I want that to be very clear in your minds. So just starting the practice of tapping in on a daily basis, and it can be as easy as this. And this is what I would suggest you start doing. This is the strategy that I would encourage to start you off. And that is every time you sit down to work and every time you start a new task, to really tap in and see, how am I doing? And you can ask specific yes or no questions. I find that that's really, really helpful to not just say, how am I doing, but like, am I feeling tired? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling motivated? Am I feeling focused? And then from that, starting this conversation with that intuitive guidance of, yeah, I'm feeling stressed, or yeah, I'm feeling really motivated right now, or I feel like I could like knock out a focused, half an hour of work. And then asking the question, okay, what kind of work? Because even that needs to be really specific. So I'll give you an example of something that happened just yesterday. And I had, like everyone else, my whole to-do list of things that I needed to do and I wanted to get done. And I was going to write a few more promotional posts for copy. And just in that moment, I was like, ooh, I don't want to do that. And I noticed, because I have cultivated this communication and this channel with my intuitive inner guidance, to say, ooh, that didn't feel good. That doesn't feel like what I want to do right now. And I noticed the feeling that I get when I want to start procrastinating or when I want to start avoiding something. So I was like, okay, that's not like due today. I don't need to hand that in to anyone even this week. So what could I do instead? And what I actually did instead was create a whole new page on my website for the Intention Intensive. breaking down exactly what's in that and all of that good stuff. The Intention Intensive is my week-long one-on-one coaching experience, and I've been doing it for over a year now. So like it's already set up, but like I had never had an actual page that broke down what was in it, and that had been something that I really wanted to do, and I just felt called to do that. And legitimately, it took me like maybe 2 hours to do that whole thing, when on another day it would have probably taken me more time. Like maybe 5 hours, or maybe even like a couple days of like half doing it and then feeling distracted again. So point being, when you start cultivating that connection and you have that relationship that you're building with your inner guidance, not only does it become easier to notice what the signs are when you are feeling really motivated to do something or less so, but you're also starting to tap into, how can I work better to be in my flow? And yes, when we talk about, the Intention Intensive that I do with my clients, or even in my one-on-one VIP coaching, or even on the free Feminine Flow Blueprint calls that I was offering the last couple weeks, yes, we dive into like what that specifically looks like for you, but it also takes some time to start cultivating that connection. We can talk about strategy all day, but if that connection piece isn't there, it's going to be, it's going to still feel really, really heavy. Let me know if that makes sense. So that is your action step, is to really start tapping into that inner guidance. How can you start cultivating that relationship? And if you have any questions at all, drop them in the chat below. Reach out to me. I love talking about this stuff. This is literally the cornerstone of my business. And I'm so here to help guide you with that as well. Again, it's very unique to all of us. So for me to sit here and give like a million examples, which I could totally do, but we would be here for like 5 hours, and I don't want to do that to you. So that is all for me for today, for your 7th episode of Align and Allow, why the strategy of intuitive flow is your key to success. If you are interested in checking out, actually creating your feminine flow blueprint, actually finding your new way of working, again, this is the foundation for all success that you're creating in your life, making sure that you are in alignment with how you're working, because it affects every area of your life. It affects the results that you get from your next level goal. It affects how quickly you get to that next level goal, how fast you want to attract your clients, how fast you want to be able to publish your book. The more in alignment you can be, the faster it's going to be, and the more easeful the experience is going to be. Let me know if that makes sense. So if you are wanting to tap into this, if you're really feeling like, yeah, I'm heavy on the masculine energy, girl, like I need to incorporate this feminine flow, I do have one more spot left for the Feminine Flow Blueprint call, which are the free calls that I was offering. I only offered a handful of them, and I have only one left. So if that is speaking to you, this is a way for you to dip your toes in the water to see what it would be like to be in a coaching relationship with me. There's absolutely zero pressure on the call. It really is a call that is free for you to start to explore this area of your life. The link to book in the final call is in the description, and I will add a little note at the top of the description once that call is taken. Otherwise, of course, I have the Intention Intensive, which is a more intense version of these free calls. The free call is really like that. Let's dip your toe in the water and see what that could look like for you, and like give you your first 2 strategy steps. The Intention Intensive is actually implementing and getting my support for a full week of doing that. So you can go and check out the link to that in the link in the description as well. We went way over today, but so such is life. There was a lot to say, a lot coming through, a lot that I was feeling intuitively guided to share with you. So I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for showing up here today for yourself, for joining this community, for being a part of it here. Your energy does make a difference. So I love that you are here and you are showing up. Have a beautiful Thursday and rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon, my loves.